Another question here. John Auer says, have a Marantz Cinema 50. Still trying to decide between Audyssey and Dirac. Is Dirac that much better with Magic Beans? Yeah, this is a question I get a lot. And I would say there's a trade-off. There's a trade-off with everything you do when it comes to audio and in life, right? In life, and I would say here's the trade-off. Dirac, the positive, the pro is that it aligns the phase full range. So you can imagine the phase is kind of all over the place. So they do some kind of impulse response correction, and they use FIR, mix of FIR and IIR filters in a smart way so that you're not getting a bunch of delay, kind of getting the best of both worlds. And they're able to align the phase on the top end specifically that I'm impressed with. And what happens is it really helps with the imaging. All right, so you get a very cohesive and pinpoint imaging. On our spatial toolkit, we have a timing test where we play kind of like a burst tone, full range burst tone out of all the speakers at the same time. And when you play that on your system, if the timing is a little bit off on all the speakers, what you kind of hear is like, doo, 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 right? It just kind of like you can tell that the sound is coming from all the different speakers. With Dirac, what I found is it just sounds like it's coming from somewhere slightly in front of the center channel, right? So it's coming from all the speakers, but because we're better at hearing in front of us, instead of imaging so it's in the middle of my head, it images slightly in front of me, which kind of makes sense, right? Our hearing acuity is better in front of us. So that's the one thing that Dirac does that's very special. If you're talking about Dirac Live bass control, it's also very good at aligning multiple subwoofers in case you don't want to get into, using a mini DSP or something like that. So that's the pro. There's a lot of pros for Dirac, I'll tell you. It does a very good job. And then it makes it pretty easy to just import Magic Beans on top of that. You tell the target curve, all good. Here's the downside, though. The downside is the way that Dirac works is it takes measurements, say your U mic, so you can use your mic. It'll take the measurements from the main listening positions, one or however many you want to do, and then it takes that and it corrects that to flat first. And when it corrects it to flat, that is the baseline from which you start correcting. So think about that for a second. Takes the measurement from the main listening position, makes it flat, and then conforms that to the target response. Now, I would prefer to actually not have it do that correction first, because with Magic Beans, we're taking near field and main listening position measurements, and we already can provide corrections based on the near field and the main listening position, so a combination of both. Whereas Dirac doesn't have any near field measurements. So in some ways, it may be overcorrecting. And this is what Audyssey typically does also if you just run it straight. But with Multi-QX, what you can do is you can exclude all of the things that Audyssey does and say, it just basically don't do anything. And your AVR acts like a mini DSP where what you import is not the target curve, but the target filters. So you're going to tell it, I'm going to use my own measurements and I'll tell you how to correct these speakers. And in some ways, Audyssey with Multi-QX will give you just a smoother tonal response. It doesn't do that initial correction. So tonally, I think you can get a superior response, but it doesn't do some of that phase alignment stuff that Dirac does. So I wish it had both, right? I wish Dirac actually would just say, you know what, we can do all that alignment, but we won't make an initial correction. Just tell us the corrections you want, and we'll still do all the alignment. That would be perfect, but yeah, I know that was a long answer, but I wanted to make sure to give you the right choices. Yeah.
All right. Now, if you can't catch the show, we do have an audio version at anchor.fm/daily HiFi. So make sure to go on over there if you like to listen to the show.